Hello and welcome to this Google Keyword Planner tutorial exclusively for Planet Perry members. You may have guessed from the funny accent, this is not Perry. My name's Mike Rhodes. I'm here in Australia, in Melbourne. I run a business called websavvy.com.au and we manage AdWords accounts for a ton of different people. I also have the great honor of doing a lot of the AdWords training for Perry, for AdWords Bootcamp and Bobsled Run. He's asked me to help out and create this tutorial for you. So what are we looking at here? So the Google Keyword Planner replaces two tools, replaces the old Google Keyword Tool and also Traffic Estimates. They've both been combined and built into the one here. So I'm going to walk you through all of the different ways that you can use this tool. There are a number of different ways, some more useful than others, and what some of the more advanced settings are. So here we are on the main screen. You can see we've got 4 options. When they launched this tool, there were just 3. They've since added one. Most of the time, you're probably going to use this top option, search for new keyword and add group ideas. Excuse me. Then these two middle ones are fairly similar. Get search volume for a list of keywords. So if you have a list of keywords that you've researched from somewhere else, you can paste it into here, and or group that list of keywords into ad groups. And you can also get some traffic estimates, so some more detailed stats on the costs, likely costs of clicks for a range of keywords. And then this last one, which I'll briefly touch on, but honestly I don't think you're going to need to use it. It's fairly rare circumstances that you're going to want to use this. This is where you can have lists, 2 or 3 lists of keywords, and then multiply those together to create really big keyword lists. Generally these days not a great idea because you want to make sure that your keywords are highly relevant. You don't just want to mix and match a whole bunch of terms. It's probably going to hurt your quality score and the overall efficacy of your campaign. So let's start right at the top. Let's start with search for new keyword and ad group ideas. And you can see it's a pretty simple screen. We have the option, first of all, of what are we going to expand upon. So what's the initial seed idea? And you can use, as you can see here, a product or service. So in other words, a fairly broad keyword here at the top, a website, more on that later, or a topic. I'll cover topic first because this is probably the one that category it's now called. This is the one that you probably won't use much, but you can see I've got a drop down list here of different categories. And I can say, okay, let's have a look under computers and consumer electronics. Breaking that down, I've got computers or consumer electronics. Let's dig into computers. Within computers, I've got software, and then under software, what have we got in here that might be useful? Let's say graphics software and audio and music software. So if I dig all the way through that list, I can find a category that maybe is related to the stuff that I sell, at which point I can then get Google to go and give me a list of keywords. In fact, why don't we just try that just to see what that looks like. So we've dug all the way through the list. The problem is, as you can tell, it's pretty difficult to know what you're looking for. It's great once you finally find something, but if we go back to all categories, you'll have to look through all of these to try and find something that you think is heading in the right direction. So for many of us, that's going to be business. Under business, then, well, what else have I got? A subcategory of business. I'm going to pick food production. Oh, there you go. There wasn't a subcategory under food production. So now I'll go back to all. Unless you know exactly what you're aiming for, this is kind of difficult to use. It's really trial and error. Probably not the best place for you to start. So probably you're going to use one of these top 2 options. Let's use as an example web design as a fairly broad generic keyword to plug in to the top here, and then we'll get some keywords back from Google that it thinks are related to this one, which I'm going to call my seed keyword. Then I have some targeting options. Now, the main one that you're probably going to use here is location. you can click on this little edit item and change the location. So if I wanted to remove the US and add in United Kingdom, I would find it in that list and add that in. Now you're probably going to be, because it's best to have one AdWords campaign target one country at a time, or something smaller than a country. You might have a campaign per state or even a campaign per city, but you generally won't have a campaign that targets all countries and territories for a number of different reasons, which we won't go into here. So you're probably going to use the tool in the same way. You would probably use the tool to research a group of keywords for one location at a time. That's generally going to be best. Obviously, if your target market speaks something other than English, change that in here. So Google in here, I suggest that you leave this on Google and not Google and Search Partners, which is also what we suggest when you're setting up your very first campaign. So Search Partners, again, a little bit more complicated that we don't really want to get into here, but for your first ever campaign when you're setting up in AdWords, you want to turn Search Partners off and only target Google to begin with, because Search Partners is just going to muddy the waters, confuse your stats, make you think it's not working when it is. Often Search Partners won't work, sometimes it will, but you need to be a bit more advanced in AdWords to understand how to pull the data apart to actually see if it's working or not. So it's easiest to just turn it off at the beginning. Therefore, I'm going to show this example of turning Search Partners off and just looking at Google. And negative keywords, we can add a list of keywords to say to Google, don't show us any information about these particular keywords. Negative keywords, again, hopefully if you've been through Perry's bobsled, or you've been through AdWords Bootcamp, or you've read the book, then you know all about negative keywords, so you'll understand those. We can always add those later, no need to add those now. And then we hit the Get Ideas tab. Now we're into the tool proper, and you can see the default option where Google lands me at this point is on this tab here, Add Group Ideas. Now you can't see a huge amount of data here because I've made the screen width as small as I can to keep this video size relatively small so that you're not sitting there waiting for ages waiting for the thing to load. So you can't see a huge amount of detail. Obviously on your own computer maybe you can maximize the screen to see a little bit more detail. But this is telling me that it's gone and built a whole bunch of different ad groups and then put a bunch of keywords inside each group. Well, you know what? Thanks Google, but I would rather have a little bit more control over the keywords and the way that they're grouped together. Why? Well, because I've seen what happens when Google set up accounts for people. It's generally not the best setup. Look, this may be great for you for your first campaign. It may be okay. You may want to go with this and say, oh yeah, web design software, web design courses, that's me. I can add these ad groups to my plan over here and then go and build this out into my account. I'm going to suggest let's not do that yet. Let's get rid of those for a second and instead go to keyword ideas, because first and foremost what we really want to find are what keywords does Google believe are relevant to that initial seed term that we started with. So what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at a whole bunch of keywords with the average monthly searches, the relative competitive level for that keyword, high, medium or low, and you'll see most of these are high, and a suggested bid. So very much more of a guideline than a rule, this number, but a suggested keyword bid. You can see I'm in Australia, so I'm seeing these in Australian dollars, not pounds or US dollars, but this is how much Google would recommend that I bid in order to show my ad for this particular search term. Just a guideline, you don't have to follow it. In fact, you may find that you can get clicks significantly cheaper than Google suggests, but it gives you an idea of what the market is like. And then this column only comes into account if you're really digging in to find more detail around an existing campaign where you may have some of these keywords already in your account. So what you can do at this point are a couple of things. You can either download this massive list of ideas, typically 800 keywords, to Excel, or straight into AdWords Editor. Hopefully, if you're using AdWords quite a bit, you will have already played with AdWords Editor. If you haven't, I would suggest you do, and maybe even if you would like more information about that, drop a note to customer service at Planet Perry, and if enough people ask us for that, then I'm sure we will create a video series around that as well and create some more detail for you. But generally, you're probably going to drop these ideas into Excel so that you can do a little bit more work on them, getting ready to create your campaign. Before you do that, you might decide, well, actually, I don't want to drop all 800 of these keywords into Excel. I want to have a little look through here, and oh, look, there's words like web design inspiration. Well, you know what? I don't really want to pay for other people's inspiration. I don't want to be paying $6 a click to have somebody come to my site to get inspired to go off and get ideas for their own web design. If I were a web designer, which I'm not, but if I were a web designer, I would want to bid first and foremost on keywords that are most likely to make me money. What we call bullseye keywords. The keywords with the highest intent, that is the closest match to the products and services that I sell. So if I find something like inspiration, I might decide to exclude all of the keywords that include the word inspiration. And that filters my list down a little bit, gets rid of all of those. Let's say I'm a web design agency in London. I would probably want to get rid of phrases like Manchester that I can see here. That'll do for now, you get the idea. And Web Design Manchester disappears from my list. Now it's up to you then how many of these you keep and how many you get rid of. You might decide, well, if someone's looking for Web Design Kent, they're pretty close to London, I'll go for that. But Web Design Leeds, well, we might want to add Leeds to our negative keyword list down here and ask Google to remove this. Now you could choose to do that in Excel afterwards, or you could do that right now. A couple of the other filters, let's walk through these filters. So you're getting the idea, you're trying to get this list down to a sensible size that you can manage, so you can start to then go out and build your ad groups and your campaign for your AdWords ads themselves. Gosh, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? I can filter this list, and I might say only show me keywords that have at least 1,000 searches a month, for instance. What happens if we do that? Well, now we're down to 78 keywords. Whoops, what happened there? I've added them all to my plan. I didn't mean to do that. Never mind. Let's kill that and see if they pop up back over here. That was not what I intended to do. I don't know how to get that back now. There you go. Let's hit get ideas on there again. And the filter's still there. There we go. So we're back to 78. Now the reason I might choose to do that is that in the early stages of my AdWords account, I may choose just to make life a little bit easier, give myself less to manage. So you've probably heard the term the long tail. The opposite of the long tail is the short head. So there is a short list, the short head of keywords, which have a high volume of searches. And then there's this extremely long tail. There are hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of keywords that get very, very, very few searches every month. Now there's definitely profit to be made there, don't get me wrong. What I'm suggesting though at this point is that you don't want, with your first AdWords account, to be managing 5,000 keywords. It's probably going to drive you batty, and you probably won't make any money because you just won't know which way to go. If you start with fewer keywords, it's going to be easier to manage. Yes, those keywords might be a little bit more competitive, but tell you what, let's have a look. Let's see if we can't go here and say, just show me the medium and low competition keywords that have over 1,000 searches. Well, there aren't any. Bugger. Let's get rid of that then. We'll take high in there, and our 78-ish keywords will come back. Here's the deal. You'll find a lot of people will teach you to go and find 10-cent keywords, 20-cent keywords. Only find competition low keywords. Well, in 2014, which is when this video was recorded, if a keyword has low competition at this point in time, it's probably for a reason. It's probably because a whole bunch of people have tried to make it profitable and couldn't, and so aren't bidding on it anymore. Generally speaking, high competition keywords are the most profitable keywords. You just have to know how to do AdWords well in order to make that profitable. So that's the general idea. We've started with a seed keyword and we found a list of relevant keywords. I could sort that by average monthly searches if I wanted, and that again might be another good word to exclude. By the way, I actually don't know. I imagine that the difference between negative keywords up here and exclude keywords down here, they do the same thing in terms of this list. They both remove the keywords with that word in. I'm guessing, and I don't know, and I haven't been able to find any documentation on this, and I must admit I don't use this tool to build my accounts. We've got our own proprietary tools and a bunch of other paid tools that we use, but I'm guessing that when you add all of these keywords to your plan, if you were to directly build your campaign from this tool, my feeling is that that negative keyword is going to get added to your campaign at the same time. If you use include and exclude down here, that's just helping you filter the list down here. It's not something that's going to get transferred across to your campaign. If you choose to build your campaign directly out of here, see what I could do, I can add these keywords to my plan one by one. I can go through this list and add a bunch of keywords. They'll pop up over here, and so it's now going to build an ad group for me with a bunch of keywords in that I could, if I wanted to, go and copy to a clipboard or download again like before, or I could get rid of this plan and I can look inside that ad group and see the keywords that are in there. I could rename that ad group name if I wanted to. If I download that plan, I can do the same thing. I can chuck it into AdWords Editor, I can download it to Excel, and if I do a little bit more work, which we're going to get to, then I can include some additional data. Let's change this little bid range up here and say I'm willing to bid between $10 and $50. Then it tells me roughly how many daily clicks I can expect and my daily cost. Right, what I really want to show you is, let's go back to modify search. So this is essentially where we started. It just looks a little different. We have our 4 choices. We're sticking with the top one for now. And this time, instead of using a keyword up here, web design, this time I'm going to use a landing page. But here's the little trick. So you don't have to use your own landing page. You could find a competitor. So let's just search for Great Web Design Company London. I have no idea if Webheads, congratulations Webheads, you're number 1 there. I have no idea if these guys are a great web design company. Know nothing about them, but what I could do is I could copy that URL, come back here and plug that URL into your landing page and say, Google, give me ideas. And now it will give me ideas based on what it finds over on that website. So that could give you a whole bunch of additional terms that maybe we wouldn't have thought of before about mobile website design, digital agency, some slightly different ways of describing this thing now. But here's another idea. If we go back to Google for a second, what I could also do is find a page that I know is full of really relevant information, and that might be a Wikipedia page. So I search for web design wiki, I find my Wikipedia page, might just come and have a quick look at that first, and you know what, there's tons and tons of content on here that lots and lots of different people have put together. Thank you everybody. I'm going to grab that URL, copy that, come back to my tool, say modify search again, and this time plug in the wiki page as my landing page, and now Google's going to have a whole different idea, and again find me a whole bunch of potentially different keywords that maybe I haven't thought of. And obviously I've still got my keyword filter on here. If I were to get rid of that filter, then I'm going to get a lot more keywords. You can see that's jumped to 700 keywords here. So what I might do is I might download all of these keywords, dump them into Excel, and label them as these came from the wiki. And I might try half a dozen competitors, run them each through the tool, get ideas, and keep dumping all of this out into Excel. Stick them all into Excel, and then go and play with them Excel, dedupe them, maybe start to delete and filter things. But what I'm trying to do initially is just get lots and lots of different ideas. And that's just a couple of sneaky ways that you can do it. You can use a keyword, you can use your landing page, you can use a competitor's landing page, you can use someone from the other side of the world if you think they've got a great site, as an example, or you might choose to use something like a Wikipedia page. And let's see if there is a web design category in here. I have no idea where it would be. Business, probably. Internet and telecom, possibly. What have we got in here? Satellite services. Yeah, this doesn't look too good. Let's come back to all categories. Go business, design and engineering, possibly. Graphic design, possibly. That's about as close as we can get to web design, I think. And that, I don't think, is going to be particularly relevant, but let's see what happens. Yeah, no. So you can see stuff like cool text, lorem ipsum. Yeah, this is, okay, to do with graphic design, nothing to do with web design. That's why I don't think you're going to use the the product category very often. It's just a little bit too hit and miss. So, now, get search volume for a list of keywords. We kind of just got that, but we got it without starting with anything. If you, in other words, we started with a keyword or a website. If you have a list of keywords, you could paste them into here, or you could type them into here. So I could type in web design, web designer, and so on. Paste a big list in there, and then tell Google to go and get me the search volume for those particular keywords. And you can see it's essentially the same as we had before. Same information, but I'm starting with maybe a big list of keywords that I paste in there. If I jump to the third option, I can get traffic estimates for that list of keywords. So again, if I throw in web design, web designer, this time I get a slightly different looking tool. Hello, what's going on here? We've got charts. Let's go, again, we default to ad group, but let's go into keyword. So Google has then given me some suggestions, but in order to get this working properly, I need to enter a bid up here. So I'm going to say if my bid was $10 and my daily budget was $10,000, then what would happen? And now I'm starting to get some pretty interesting data. And Google shows me that for this keyword, if I was bidding $10, on average, I'd probably pay about $5. I'd be showing my ad right at the top of the page, and I could expect around 16 clicks a day. Now, although these numbers look incredibly accurate, take them with a pinch of salt. And don't believe everything you see in this tool. I reckon it's probably, give or take, 25% accurate. Sometimes these numbers are 25% high, sometimes 25% low, sometimes they're dead on, and occasionally they're completely wrong. But it gives you a rough idea. And then you can see on this graph up here, if my maximum bid were to go up to around $30, what happens to my expected clicks per day and my expected cost per day. So if you're a web designer, I hope you've got a big budget, because this is an expensive market to play in. But this is the slight difference now between the initial screen where we just had search volume. With this part of the tool, we're getting clicks and cost data, even expected click-through rate, which again, that is a very, very rough guide. Obviously that's going to change dramatically depending on the quality of your ad, the quality of the benefits that you include in your ad, the quality of your point of difference over your competition. But you can start to see how to get some interesting data. Now, how do I get out of this? Back to search and modify search. let's now jump to this last option, which I've said is not probably one that you're going to spend a lot of time in. But let's say I sold dresses, shirts, and shorts, and I had green, red, blue, and my daughter's favorite color, better get in here, so purple. And now I can go and say get estimates, and it'll mix and match all of those keywords and now show me dresses blue, dresses green, dresses purple, dresses red. I probably should have put them the other way around, shouldn't I? And I probably should have cleared out that existing list of keywords first. That would have made a bit more sense, Mike. Thank you very much. I don't think this is going to be a tool that you use a lot. Let's go back and do it again. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to grab that list there, stick them in there, and say dress, shirt, shorts, pants, get estimates. The reason I don't think you're going to use this very much is your keywords in 2014, 10 years ago, this might have been a good way to start a campaign. These days, just chucking a whole bunch of keywords against the wall and seeing what sticks and hoping that something works, that's not a good way to start. You might learn something interesting from this just by looking in terms of what the volume on these terms are. Lots more people searching for dresses than are searching for shirts and shorts. Yeah, but I'd rather do more detailed keyword research using the options that we've already been through. Traffic estimates, once you've got a list of keywords, and to begin with, search for new keyword and ad group ideas by plugging in a keyword, a landing page, yours or someone else's, and possibly a category, although, as we've seen, less than useful. Let's just do one more little check in here and say that something like lawyer, and get ideas, just to make sure I've covered everything. Keyword options, there you go, I haven't covered that yet. So on the old keyword tool, you may be familiar with a box that said highly relevant terms or something along those lines. This is where it lives now. Only show ideas closely related to my search terms. Now that can often be a good one to turn on. Show keywords in my account obviously only matters if you've logged into your account, which you have to anyway now. You have to be logged into your account to use the tool. If you've got an existing account running and you're trying to find more keywords, then you may want to choose that off so that you only see new keywords. If you're trying to research everything, then by all means turn that on. It'll show keywords already existing in your AdWords account. We have a granny policy. We pretty much, so does Google really, we pretty much don't do anything that my granny wouldn't approve of. We don't run accounts for anybody in the adult industry. So this is not an option that we need to worry about. If you're in that industry, then obviously you're going to need to come in here and turn that on in order to see keywords that you might want to use. So that's really the only one there that you need to worry about, is potentially turning that on, and then this will get I'm not going to say much more, but a bit more relevant. Without that turned on, you sometimes see some really random terms in here that may not be particularly useful. I would probably delete that every time I start a completely new search. There you go. There you have it. How to use the keyword planner. Obviously you can come back and change these, so I could remove this and do a search in Australia. Add that. As soon as I click out of that box, all of these numbers update to show results in a new location. Again, one country at a time is going to serve you best. Now I haven't gone through, the only thing I really haven't gone through in detail here is this add to plan, and that's because I don't think this is a really great way of building an AdWords campaign. I think it's much better for you to understand how to group keywords and how to do that manually for the first few campaigns that you do. I think you'll learn so much more by doing this manually instead of trying to use this part of the tool. I suggest that you do learn how to use Excel and particularly AdWords Editor. AdWords Editors will save you so much time. If you're going to spend over the course of the next year 100 hours running your AdWords account, AdWords Editor will save you at least half of that, probably more. It is well worth learning. And there you have it. Keyword Planner, how to use. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we will see you soon.